Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before we start our lesson, let us recite 5 surah. The first one, Surah Al-Fatihah. The second one, Surah Toha ayat 1 hingga 5. And then Surah Al-Inshirah, Surah Quraish, and Surah Al-Ikhlas by 3 times. After that, selawat ke atas Rasulullah SAW selama 2 minit. Dan kita niatkan selawat kita ni yang pertama untuk memenuhi perintah Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, kedua untuk memenuhi hak Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, dan yang ketiga untuk mendapat syafaat Rasulullah di akhirat kelak. Dan kita niatkan juga segala bacaan hafalan surah kita ni dan selawat kita ni untuk kedua orang tua dan seluruh umat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Kemudian doa sebelum belajar. Semoga dengan amalan ini akan membuka pintu hati para pelajar untuk mencintai ilmu dan mendapat ilmu yang berkah. Amin.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم طه ما أنزلنا عليك القرآن لتشقى إلا تذكرة لمن يخشى تنزيلا ممن خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى الرحمن على العرش استوى. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لإيلاف قريش إيلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت الذي أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد. 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 محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل 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 محمد
Doa sebelum belajar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma aftah alaina hikmataka wanshur alaina min hazaini rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Ya Allah, bukakanlah ke atas kami hikmat-hikmatmu dan limpahilah ke atas kami khazanah rahmatmu. Wahai yang maha pemurah lagi maha penyayang.
Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Ya Rabbku, lapangkanlah untukku dadaku dan mudahkanlah untukku urusanku dan lepaskanlah kekakuan dari lidahku, supaya mereka mengerti perkataanku.
Amin.
Amin, amin, amin. Ya Rabbal Alamin. In this session, we will discuss about topic index notation and standard form 1.1.4. Can you please get ready with your notes, page 6 until 11, your worksheet page 4 until 7. Learning objectives. Number 1. Read and write index notation for a to the power of n, where n is an integer. For the second one, apply the laws of indices, means here the multiplication and divisions of numbers in index form, and recognize numbers expressed in negative index form. And the third one, write whole numbers in standard form by using the index notation a times 10 to the power of n, where a should be bigger or equal to 1 and it must be less than 10. Okay, and this one is standard form, and both of the objectives here is for index notation. Steps to success. The first one, read and write index notation for a to the power of n, where n is an integer. Second, practice law of indices. And last one, write whole numbers in standard form a times 10 to the power of n. And please copy this down in your notes. Now, index notation. What can you explain about index notation? Index notation is not something new to all of you. You already heard about this index notation when we are doing topic prime factorization. So, what is the key concept of this index notation? And please remember this. The key concept for index notation is actually the power. Okay, and how this index notation happen, how that power happen when the same number repeated itself several times. Okay, for example here, this 5 repeated 7 times. So instead of doing this 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, and we can write it like 5 to the power of 7. Okay, the little number 7 tells us that the number 5 multiples itself 7 times. This one, the little 7. We read 5 to the power of 7 as 5 to the power of 7. 5 is the best and 7 is the power. And remember that other than power, it's it's also known as index and also known as exponent. Okay, and when it is plural, we call it indices. Now, example 11, we know that 81 equal to 9 times 9, and 9 times 9 can be rewrite as 9 square, and this 9 square is the index form of 81 in the base of 9. Okay, example 12, this 64 can be written in the base of 2, 4, or 8. If the base is 2, so it will become to the power of 6. If the base is 4, it will become 4 to the power of 3. And if the base is 8, so it will become 8 square. Okay, so this is in general. In general, that value, that base, we call it A, and that power, we call it N. Okay. Example 13, write each of the following in index form. So for part A, here we have -3 repeated itself several times. So how are we going to rewrite this in index form? It will be like this, bracket -3 to the power of 5. Alright? So for part B, how are you going to form this value in index form if the base is 10, 100, or 1000? I give you 20 seconds to try. Okay, now, if the base is 10, so we split the value into 10, and we have 6 times this 10 repeated itself. So the index form for base of 10 is 10 to the power of 6. If 100, so 100 is repeated thrice, so 100 to the power of 3. And for 1000, 1000 repeated twice, so 1000 square. Okay, so copy all of this in your notes. Now, example 14, write 8 times 8 in index form using 8 as the base, 2 as the base, 4 as the base. So 8 times 8, so the first thing you need to do is to figure out what is 8 times 8. So 8 times 8 is 64. So with this 64, split it into 8 as the base. Okay, so here 8 times 8 is 64, and the answer is 8 square. 2 as the base, so make it 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 until you get 64. Okay, so here we repeat that 2 6 times, so 2 to the power of 6. 4 is the base, 4 is repeated thrice, so 4 to the power of 3. Now, multiplication of numbers in index form. In the multiplication of numbers given in the same base, we keep the base and add the indices. Okay, for you to apply this rule, you need to make sure it is a multiplication and you must have same base. Okay, if you have same base and it is a multiplication, therefore you can add the power. Alright, now for example 15, I will explain you for this part A first. Simplify the following, and you need to give each answers in index form. Now, here, although it is a value that you can solve, but do not solve this value. Just keep the answers to be 3 to the power of 5. Okay? Because the question asks you to give the answer in index form. Otherwise, you need to solve, right? Now, for part A, if you encounter this type of questions in exam, make sure it is a multiplication and we have same base, so you can add the power. So 3, the power will be 2 plus 3, which is 5. Alright? Now, I will give you 20 seconds to try for part B, C, and D. Now, for part B, your answer should be p to the power of 2 plus 4. Why we can add the power? Because first, it is a multiplication. Second, we have same base. Therefore, the final answer will be p to the power of 6. For part C, you focus with a and the power, b and the power. Okay, so your working should be like this. A, 3 plus 2, b, the power will be 2 plus 5, and then your final answer will be a to the power of 5, b to the power of 7. For part D, it involves value, so you solve the value as usual. So 2 times 3 is 6, and be careful if you don't have any power for that alphabet, you need to remember the power must be 1. Okay, the power must be 1. And here the answer is 6. C, the power will be 1 plus 4. And D, the power will be 2 plus 5. And simplify the power and it will become like this. 6, C to the power of 5, D to the power of 7. Next, division of numbers in index form. And here again, to apply these rules, you need to make sure it is a division and they have same base. Okay, if it is a division and we have same base, so you can subtract the power. And here m, the index m come first, so m here minus that n, right? So a to the power of m minus n, whichever come first, put it in front. Okay, and if it is in terms of fraction here, the numerator, the power in the numerator will be the one which come first, that m. Alright, now example 16, simplify the following, give each answer in index form. And here for part A, I rewrite the questions in form of this rule. So A is k, m is 8, and n is 5. So k, 8 minus 5, therefore k to the power of 3 will be your final answer. Now, I give you 20 seconds for you to practice the rest of the questions. Okay, now for part B, 7, 5 minus 3, 7 to the power of 5 minus 3, and you will get 7 square. Although you can solve this value, but please do not solve it because the question asks you to give answers in index form. Therefore, your final answer is 7 square. For part C, we have value here. So simplify the value first. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. And A, the power will be 7 minus 3. And the answer, your final answer is 3A to the power of 4. For part D, again, you simplify the value. And then the power will be, the index here, A to the power of 5 minus 3. B 8 minus 5, and simplify, you will get 1 in the half a square b cubed. Therefore, your final answer is 1 in the half a square b cubed. The next rule will be negative indices. A number given in negative index, a to the power of negative n, the power is negative, can be expressed in a positive index form by writing its reciprocal 1 out of a to the power of n. So by doing this reciprocal, that negative index will become positive. Alright? And it is very important for you to know this rule. And these kind of questions always come out in exam. Okay, like this one. A to the power of negative n will be 1 out of a to the power of n. Now, express each of the following in a positive index form. If the question asks you to give the answer in positive index form, then you need to write down these rules. Okay? If no, so you can keep the answer is in negative forms, okay, in negative index form. But if the question asks you to give the answer in positive index form, therefore you need to apply this rule. All right? So h to the power of negative 8. And to make it positive, we do the reciprocal and it will become 1 out of h to the power of 8. Okay? Now, I give you 20 seconds to try for part B and C. Okay. Now, for part B, the answer is 2 out of k to the power of 5. And remember that negative 5 just belong to that k. Okay, so 2 out of k to the power of 5. For part C, it will become 1 out of bracket 2k to the power of 5. That is the difference between with bracket and without bracket. In here, that negative 5 belong to that 2k. Okay, so 1 out of 2k to the power of 5. Moving on with standard form. Okay, standard form, the most important things is you need to make sure you give your answers in this form, and here must be 10 to the power of something. Okay, and here the base must be 10. For standard form, the base here must be 10 and a is value, and you need to write the answers in this form, which is a times 10 to the power of n. This will be the general formula. Alright, and then what is the requirement for a? This a must be greater or equal to 1. As you look here, for this inequality, we have this straight line, correct? And this means equal to. Therefore, your A can be greater or equal to 1. But it must be less than 10. And when you look here, we don't have straight line here, correct? So 10 is not included. If we have straight line like this, it is included. But for 10, we don't have straight line below this inequality sign. So 10 is not included. Therefore, for part A, you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The only valid for part A, for value A here, It's only from 1 until 9. Okay? Now, we look for the examples here. Example of standard form. This is the one that I explained earlier. Always between 1 and 10, not including 10. Therefore, 4.3 times 10 to the power of 6, like that. Alright? Now, why for the first part is not standard form? Why? Because you look at part A. Is that part A between 1 and 10? Is that always between 1 and 10? No, right? Because it is 28. Okay? Because it is 28. So it is not it is not in standard form. If it is 1, okay, and here 1 is included, 1 is included, but 10 is not, okay, because of this inequality. Please be careful with that one. And for part this, okay, but this one, the second one, not in standard form because it is less than 1. And yes, for the last part, it is standard form because it is between 1 and 10. And remember, 1 is included and 10 is not included. We often write ordinary numbers as powers of 10. For example, here, 3,000, 1 million here, and this 50,000. And here, it explained to you in long explanations how actually the power of 10 is formed. Okay? And for this 3,000, it's split into like this, 3 times 1,000. And that 1,000 is split into 10 like this. That is how it becomes 3 times 10 to the power of 3. Same goes with this value and this 50,000. For this 1 million, it becomes 1 times 10 to the power of 6. And this 5 times 10 to the power of 4. And now, in this slide, it explains to you how we're going to change ordinary number in standard form. How we're going to express the ordinary number in standard form. The ordinary number is the usual numbers that we see in our maths. Okay, the value that we see in our maths is, we call it ordinary number here. And our task is to change this kind of value to express this kind of value in terms of standard form. Okay, positive power if it is a large number, negative power if we express the small number, the small ordinary number to standard form. Okay, and this small number involve decimal numbers which have point in front, 0.00, 0.00, things like that. Like this, 0.000502. So if you have lots of 0 in front like this, then this is small ordinary number and the power will be negative power if we express them in standard form. Clear? Okay, now. Okay, our task here, we need to make sure this ordinary number within the range for A. Okay, the A must be greater or equal to 1, correct? And it must be less than 10. So we need to make sure the value here within 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Clear? Okay, now, for example, this 29. 29 is bigger than the range given, correct? So you need to count the number of places that you take to make this 29 within the range of A, within the range of this A. Okay, now I take one place for it to become 2.9. Therefore, the number of places that you take to make it in this range, that will be the number of powers for your standard form. Okay, therefore the answer for this one, 29, is 2.9 times 10 to the power of 1. Alright, same goes with this 350, which is 3.5 times 10 square. And for this one, I take 3 places for me to make it in the range of A. Therefore, the power of its standard form will be 3. And don't remove any of this value. The value remain the same. Just for the standard form, we put it in decimal. Okay. And if we convert this one, if we convert this standard form, we will have the same value again for the ordinary number. Okay, so we don't change value here. We must have the same value if we change this ordinary number into standard form, or this standard form into this ordinary number. We still have the same value. Okay, and for this part, we're going to have 6 times 10 to the power of 8. Now, for 0.3, 0.3 is less than 1, correct? So we cannot, so it is not in the range for this A. Therefore, we need to do something, and then I take one place to make it fix into this range. So the power will be -1. If I take 2 place, then the power is -2. If I take 1, 2, 3, 4 place for me to make it within the range 5.02, and then here I take 4 place, and the power will be -4. Clear? If you still confused, you need to practice again, and you can ask me about this. Example 18. Express each of the following in standard form. I will give you 50 seconds to try these questions. Okay, for part A, and before that, for you to express ordinary number in standard form, you must remember the range for A is A must be greater or equal to 1, and it must be less than 10. So the range of A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. And now for part A, for me to make this value within this range, so I will have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 places. And then it will become 1.12 times 10 to the power of 4. Either you write the 0 here or not, it is not really important for standard form here. Okay. Now for part B, it is 358, which is not included in the range for A. So for here, I take 2 places to make it within the range. Therefore, your answer here will be 3.584 times 10 to the power of 2. And please remember, do not remove any value here. Okay. And for standard form, we shouldn't change the value. The value remain the same, either it is in standard form or ordinary number. Okay, so for standard form here, the answer should be 3.584. For part C, it will become 3.21 times 10 square. For part D, we have 2002. This is exam questions. It come out in SPE in previous years, 2 years. Okay, so make sure you know how to answer these questions, alright? And I need to have 3 places to make it fits into this range. Therefore, the answer will be 2.002 times 10 to the power of 3. And the 0 here you must include, okay, because it is between the value. For E, the answer is 6.72 times 10 to the power of 1. For F, 1.278 times 10 to the power of 2. Example 19. Express each of the following in standard form. And here we have small ordinary numbers. So remember, for small ordinary number, the power will be negative. Okay. And again, you need to recall the range for A. The range for A, remember that one? A must be greater or equal to 1 and it must be less than 10. Okay. So for part A, to make sure this ordinary number within the range, so I need 1 plus, okay, and it will become 8 times 10 to the power of negative 1 because I need 1 plus for me to change this ordinary number to standard form. Okay, now I give you 20 seconds for you to try B and C. Okay, for part B, I need 2 plus to make it within the range, become 5.3, and the answer will be 5.3 times 10, and the number places will be the number of the power. But here you need to put negative 2, right? For part C, I need 1, 2, 3. So 2.11 times 10 to the power of negative 3. Now, example 20. Express each of the following in standard form. Give your answers correct to 3 significant figures. Okay, for this kind of questions, first, you need to round off to 3 significant figure. And then, step 2, express in standard form. Okay, for example, part A, for this value, when I round off to 3 significant figure, it will become 102000. 3 significant figure is these 2. Okay, so the rest of it I will put it 0. And then this will be your step 1. Step 2, express this 102,000 in standard form. It will become 1.02 times 10 to the power of 5 because I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places for me to fit this value within the range. Okay, so 1.02 times 10 to the power of 5. The next questions, I give you times to try. Okay, for part B, round off first, 3 significant figure, it will become 1580. For rounding off this significant figure, you need to recall our previous topic 1.1.3. Okay, so here we have 1580, and then we express this ordinary number in standard form. It will become 1.58 times 10 to the power of 3. For part C, please recall the topic 1.1.3 to round off the significant figure. This one, when we round off to 3 significant figure, it will become 0.0198, and then express this new value here in standard form, and it will become 1.98 times 10 to the power of -2. And the last one, although we have standard form here, but you round off first this 144.233 to the nearest of 3 significant figure, and it will become like this. And again, this value is more than the range of A. Okay, more than the range of A. So we need to have two places to make it within the range. Okay, to make it fits into this range, and it will become 1.44 times 10 to the power of 2. Here we cannot leave the answers to be like this, and then here you need to apply your power of indices. Okay, you need to apply your index notation. We have same base here, so the power you can add, and the answer will be 1.44 times 10 to the power of 2 plus 5. And then simplify the power, it will become 1.44 times 10 to the power of 7. Okay, this topic is just a simple topic, but very important in exam. Make sure you understand how you express ordinary number into standard form and standard form into ordinary number. Now, example 21 and example 22. For this example 21, you need to express the standard form in ordinary numbers, and for this example 22, you need to change this 62 million in standard form. I will give you 50 seconds to try. Okay, now for A, 2.11 times 10 to the power of 5. In simple way, you can count how many places for you to take that 10 to the power of 5. And here we have the power is 5, so we should have 5 places in the ordinary numbers. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here we put 0, 0, 0. And the ordinary number will be 211,000, 211,000. Okay, for part B, the power is 1, so you need one place to have this power of 1. So 1. And it will become 54. And remember, we have negative. When we have negative, so it is a small ordinary number, and we need to move to take place in front of 4. Okay, so 1, 2. And here put 0, point, and 0 here. And the answer will be 0.0427. Alright. Now, example 22, 62 millions means 62 times 1 million, it will become 62, and we have 60. Okay, we have 60 here. And we need to change it into standard form. And I will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 places to make this 62 million fits into the range of A. What is the range of A? A must be greater or equal to 1 and less than 10. Okay? And the answer will be 6.2 times 10 to the power of 7. So, for your summary, in this session, we already learned this index notation, and what come out in your mind if I talk about index notation. You need to remember the rules. Okay, we have learned 3 rules for index notation, and what are the rules? Okay, and the next one is standard form. We already discussed standard form. So, how are you going to write down your answers in standard form? What will be the range within what will be the range that fits into A? So if you're able to answer this kind of questions, that means you understand this topic. If no, you really need to revise again. Okay, so this will be the last part for our session. Don't forget to complete your notes, to complete your worksheet. And thank you so much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Doa selepas belajar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma inni astaudi'uka ma 'allamtani fardudhu ilayya inda hajati ilaihi wala tansani ya rabbal alamin. Ya Allah, sesungguhnya aku menitipkan padamu ilmu-ilmu yang telah engkau ajarkan kepadaku, dan kembalikanlah kepadaku sewaktu aku memerlukannya kembali. Dan janganlah engkau lupakan aku kepada ilmu itu, wahai Tuhan yang memiliki semesta alam. Amin.